My name is Elias Ward, 45 years old, and 5 words shattered everything I thought I knew about love. I deserve someone better. I sat in a faded motel room on the outskirts of Memphis, staring at divorce papers spread across a scratched nightstand. The air conditioner in the window rattled like old bones. The carpet smelled of cigarettes and forgotten lives. 3 months earlier, I'd owned a home, a decent truck, a life that, if not perfect, at least had shape and meaning. Then Mara got sick. Stage 3 ovarian cancer. The doctors said surgery was her only chance. But our insurance had expired 6 months before, right after I got laid off from Bexler Steel, where I'd worked nearly 2 decades. So I did what desperate men do. I sold the house to a cash buyer in 10 days. Sold my truck for half its worth, emptied our savings, borrowed from my brother, my friends, even the guy who fixed my tires. When the surgery came that cold Tuesday in January, I sat in that hospital waiting room for 7 endless hours, drinking bitter coffee and whispering prayers to a God I hadn't spoken to in years. When the surgeon said, "She made it," I broke down right there. I didn't care who saw. Mara's recovery was slow, brutal. I stayed beside her for every appointment, every injection, every night she cried in pain. We moved into a roadside motel because it was all I could afford. I picked up graveyard shifts at a warehouse, loading freight until dawn. My back ached, my hands split open from cold metal, but she was alive. That was enough. Then one morning, I came home from work and found 2 suitcases by the door. Mara stood there, pale and distant. Her sister Clara was beside her, arms folded like a wall between us. Mara couldn't meet my eyes. She handed me an envelope. Inside were divorce papers already signed and filed. "I deserve someone better," she said, her voice calm, too calm. "Someone who can give me a real life. You're finished, Eli. I can't live like this." I just stood there, warehouse grease still on my hands. What could I say? I had given her everything, every dollar, every ounce of strength I had left. She took what little remained, half of the few thousand I'd scraped together, and walked out with Clara, stepping into a silver car I'd never seen before. I sat down on that worn motel bed and listened to the silence settle, broken only by the wheezing hum of the air conditioner. I felt hollow, like someone had scooped out my insides and left the shell behind. I met Mara 12 years ago at a summer cookout behind the church. She laughed easy, talked fast, and made me believe I was someone worth knowing. We married quick, too quick maybe, but I thought we were unshakable. She never worked much, and I didn't mind. I earned enough at Bexler to keep us comfortable. Her sister Clara never hid a judgment. Too blue collar, too small time, too me. Mara used to defend me, but as years went on, the defenses faded. The little comments started about our cramped house, my ordinary job, how her friend's husband just made regional manager. When I got laid off, something in her eyes changed. She stopped asking about my day, stopped reaching for my hand at night. When the cancer came, I thought it would pull us closer. Instead, it finished the distance that had already begun. I pawned my father's watch for $300 and felt like I'd sold my soul for pocket change. The surgery cost 62 grand. By the end, I had nothing but faith in a half-paid motel room. When she got better, I thought we'd rebuild. I thought she'd remember who we were before the sickness, before the debt. But after her last checkup, when the doctor said the word remission, she started whispering with Clara behind closed doors. I caught words like fresh start, new chance, wasted years. The day she left, I called my brother Caleb. He didn't pick up, and for the first time in my life, I realized I had no one left to call. I tried a few people. No one answered. I sat in that motel room, the walls yellowed with time, holding those divorce papers and realizing something I'd never said out loud. I had no one left. 2 days after Mara left, I was outside the motel, sitting on a rusted metal chair, drinking gas station coffee that tasted like burnt rubber. The morning air was heavy, thick with humidity. That's when a man in a gray suit walked up the gravel path toward me. He looked out of place, polished shoes, pressed shirt, a leather briefcase that had seen more boardrooms than back roads. "You Elias Ward?" he asked. I nodded. "My name's Gregory. I've been looking for you, he said. I'm an attorney. Your Uncle Leonard passed away 3 weeks ago. I blinked at him. I don't have an Uncle Leonard. You do, Gregory replied evenly. Your father's older brother. They had a falling out before you were born. Leonard never married, no kids. You're his only living relative. He left you something. For a long moment, I just stared. My father never mentioned a brother, not once in 45 years. Gregory handed me a folder. Inside were three things: a property deed, a bank statement, and a handwritten letter. The deed was for a commercial building downtown Memphis. The bank statement showed a balance of $48,362.17. The letter was written in firm, shaky script on lined paper. Elias, we never met, but I know the kind of man your father raised. This is yours now. Don't waste it. Leonard, I read it 3 times before looking up. This is real? Very real, Gregory said. The building's fully paid off. There's a tenant, a coffee shop on the ground floor. They've been there 6 years, pay $1,200 a month, always on time. The account's clean, no liens, no back taxes. It's all yours. I leaned back in that chair, the metal creaking under my weight, and felt something I hadn't in months. Not hope exactly, but maybe the shadow of it. A small crack in the wall I'd built around myself. What do I need to do? I asked. Just sign the few papers to transfer the deed. I'll handle the rest. He paused, studying me. You okay, son? I nodded. It wasn't true, but it was truer than it had been 2 minutes ago. After he left, I sat there with the folder in my lap and the letter in my hand. I thought about Mara, about her saying I couldn't provide, about how easily she'd walked away. I thought about her sister Clara, standing behind her with that smug, satisfied look, like she'd been waiting years to be proven right. I folded Leonard's letter carefully and slid it into my jacket pocket. Then I went back into the motel room. The walls were stained, the lamp flickered, the bed sagged in the middle. This was rock bottom, but I wasn't staying here. I picked up my phone and called Gregory. I want to see the building, I said. I can take you tomorrow morning, he replied. No, I said. I want to see it now. The building sat on a corner lot 2 blocks from the river, 3 stories of red brick and history. Big windows on the ground floor glowed with soft light. A hand-painted sign above the door read, Brood Awakening. Through the glass, I saw people inside, laptops open, steam rising from mugs, a quiet hum of life I hadn't felt in months. Gregory unlocked a side door and led me upstairs. The second and third floors were empty, wide, dusty spaces with high ceilings and sun streaming through cracked blinds. The air smelled like old paper and sawdust. Leonard bought this place in '87, Gregory said. Ran a print shop downstairs for years. When he retired, he leased it to the coffee shop. The upper floors have been empty since 2003, but the bones are good. You could renovate, lease them, or sell the whole thing. It's worth about 300 grand right now. I ran my hand along the wall, feeling the cool, rough texture of brick. Looked out the window at the street below, where people were coming and going, carrying on with their lives. What about the tenants? I asked. Lease renews every 2 years. They're good folks. Pay on time. You'd be smart to keep them. I nodded, already thinking. 48,000 in the bank. Enough to fix 1 floor, maybe 2. Enough to start over. I'll keep it, I said quietly. Gregory smiled. Good choice. We spent the next hour signing paperwork in his office. When I finally stepped out onto the sidewalk, the afternoon sun had started to dip low, painting the bricks in amber light. I stood there a long time just looking up at that building, my second chance. I called Calvin that night. He finally picked up. Sam, I'm sorry I haven't called back, he said, his voice tired. Work's been hell. It's fine, I said quietly. I just wanted to tell you something. I inherited a building. There was a long pause. What? I explained everything, Leonard, the deed, the bank account, the letter. Calvin didn't interrupt once. When I finished, he exhaled slowly. That's incredible, man. You deserve some good luck for once. I'm going to fix it up, I said. Lease the upper floors. Make something out of it. You need help? Calvin asked. I've got tools, time on weekends. Yeah, I said. I'd like that. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. But 2 days later, Diane called. She wanted to meet, said it was important. I almost said no, but something in her voice, soft, hesitant, made me curious. We met at a diner near the motel, the kind with cracked vinyl booths and fluorescent lights that never turn off. She looked good, healthy, like the cancer had never happened. She wore a new jacket I didn't recognize. I heard you inherited something, she said, sitting down across from me. I stared at her. How did you hear that? Vanessa has a friend at the courthouse. Word gets around. I said nothing. Look, Sam, she began, her tone trembling just enough to sound practiced. I made a mistake. I was scared the cancer, the money, everything. I panicked. But I still care about you. We were together 12 years. That has to mean something. I leaned back, arms crossed. You said you deserved better. I know, she whispered. I was wrong. She reached for my hand across the table. I pulled mine back. I want to try again, she said. We can start over. I'll help you with the building. We can make it work. I looked at her for a long time, the woman I'd once sold my life for. Then I stood up. No, I said, and walked out before she could say another word. A week later, I started renovating the second floor. Calvin came by most evenings after work. We tore up old carpet, patched the walls, painted until our arms ached. It felt good, right, to build something again, to see progress where there used to be nothing but loss. Lauren, the woman who ran the coffee shop downstairs, brought us coffee every morning. She was maybe mid-30s, paint-stained jeans, soft brown hair tied up in a messy bun. Quiet, steady, the kind of person who didn't waste words. She asked what I planned for the upper floors. Office space, maybe? I said. Or apartments. Still figuring it out. This neighborhood needs affordable housing, she said. Just a thought. I nodded. I liked that idea. Something that mattered, something real. But Diane wouldn't let it go. She called twice, then she showed up. It was a humid afternoon. Calvin was there, sanding trim near the window. I heard her before I saw her heels clicking on the old wood floors. Sam, we need to talk, she said. No, we don't. Yes, we do. She crossed her arms. I'm still legally your wife. The divorce isn't final yet. That means I have a claim to that building. I set the hammer down slowly. What? Tennessee's a marital property state, she said, her voice turning sharp. Anything acquired during the marriage can be divided. You inherited that building while we were still married. I talked to a lawyer. I'm entitled to half. My chest tightened. You walked out on me. That doesn't matter legally, she said. I have rights. I stared at her. And in that moment, it all clicked. This wasn't about love. It never was. She didn't want me. She wanted the building, the money, the one good thing I had left. Get out, I said quietly. Sam, be reasonable. We can settle this without court. Just give me what I'm owed and I'll sign the papers. Clean break. Get out, I repeated, louder this time. She left, but I knew she wasn't bluffing. 2 days later, a letter came from her lawyer, a formal claim against the property. She wanted half the value, or half the rental income, or a lump sum of $75,000. I called Gregory. He listened carefully, then sighed. She has a case, he said. Not a strong one, but a case. Normally, inherited property is separate, but if you improve it or earn income during the marriage, it can be considered marital. Since you're renovating and collecting rent, she could argue it's shared. So what do I do? You fight it, but it'll cost you legal fees, court costs. Could drag out for months. I hung up and sat in that half-painted room. The walls were streaked with primer. Tools lay scattered across the floor. Calvin's radio hummed quietly from the corner. I thought about everything I'd given up, everything I'd lost. And now she wanted to take this too. No. I picked up the phone and called Gregory back. I need you to do something for me. What's that? I need you to dig into Diane's life and her sister Vanessa's. Find out what they've been. I know a guy, Gregory said over the phone. Private investigator. He's not cheap. I don't care. I said, do it. 3 days later, the file arrived, and suddenly everything made sense. The investigator's report was thick, organized, brutal in its precision. Diane had been planning this for months, long before she filed for divorce, long before the cancer diagnosis. There were emails between her and Vanessa dating back nearly a year. Vanessa had been the architect. The poison? She called me a dead-end loser, said Diane was wasting her life on a man with grease under his fingernails and no future. And when Diane got sick, Vanessa saw her opening. She convinced her sister to let me drain every cent, sell the house, empty savings, cash in retirement to pay for the surgery. The plan was simple: let me go broke saving her life, then walk away. But they hadn't planned on Leonard. They hadn't planned on me inheriting anything. After Leonard's death, the emails got worse. Vanessa had looked up the property value, done the math, and wrote, "He owes you. You were sick. He should have figured it out without selling the house. Take what's yours and move on." Then came the bank statements, transfers from Vanessa to Diane. Small amounts, 500 here, 1,000 there, but steady, deliberate. Vanessa had been funding Diane's escape. And the final blow? Photos. Diane, hand in hand with a man named Jordan, a pharmaceutical sales rep she'd met during her treatments. 8 weeks of dinner dates, hotel rooms, weekend trips, all starting the same month she was declared cancer-free. She hadn't left me because I was broke. She left because she'd already replaced me. I sat at the motel's small desk and read through everything twice. Then I read it again. Not angry, not even sad. Just, clear. I picked up the phone and called Gregory. "I need you to file a counterclaim." "On what grounds?" "Fraud, emotional manipulation. Vanessa financially interfered with our marriage. She helped destroy it. And Diane committed adultery. That affects division of assets under Tennessee law. I want her claim dismissed and Vanessa held accountable." Gregory was silent for a long moment. "That's aggressive. Can you do it?" "Yes," he said finally. "But it'll get ugly." "Good." 2 weeks later, Diane's lawyer received a 60-page filing. Every email, every bank record, every photograph, all neatly indexed, time-stamped, undeniable. It laid out Vanessa's manipulation, Diane's affair, the financial deceit, and it demanded the court dismiss Diane's claim entirely and order her to pay my legal fees. That night, Diane called me, her voice shaking with rage. "You had us investigated? That's insane, Sam. You're insane." "I'm protecting what's mine," I said calmly. "You're going to lose. My lawyer says you don't have a case. Then I guess we'll see." I hung up. The hearing was set for late April. The weeks leading up to it, I poured everything into the building. Calvin helped me install new floors and fix the windows. Lauren's contractor friend rewired the entire second floor for half the market rate. By the time April came, the space looked brand new, sunlight streaming through clean glass, fresh paint gleaming off the walls. I put up a for-lease sign. Within a week, I had 3 inquiries. By the day of the hearing, the second floor was leased to a marketing firm for $2,500 a month. My building was working. My life was starting again. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Diane sat across from me, polished and tense, her lawyer beside her, a woman with hard eyes and a briefcase full of paper. Vanessa sat right behind them, arms crossed, glare sharp enough to cut steel. Gregory spoke first, calm, precise. He walked the judge through the timeline, the emails, the money transfers, the affair. He showed how Vanessa had manipulated Diane into leaving me, how they'd planned to exploit my financial collapse, and how Diane's adultery voided her claim to my inheritance. Diane's lawyer tried to spin it, argued that the building had become marital property since I was generating income from it. But Gregory countered instantly. He cited case law, precedents, rulings. The renovations, he said, were funded entirely by the inheritance itself, not by marital assets. The income generated belongs solely to my client. The judge flipped through the exhibits in silence. Then she looked directly at Diane. "Mrs. Reeves," she said, her tone sharp, Are these emails authentic? Diane hesitated. Her eyes darted between the judge and her lawyer. Finally, she exhaled. Yes, she said quietly. The emails are real. And this relationship with Mr. Jordan, the judge asked, voice steady. When did it begin? Diane's lawyer leaned over, whispering something too soft to hear. Diane swallowed. Much, she said. While you were still married? Yes. The judge closed the file, her decision already written on her face. I am denying the petitioner's claim, she said firmly. The property remains with the respondent. Additionally, the respondent is awarded legal fees in the amount of $8,400 to be paid by the petitioner within 60 days. Diane's face drained of color. Vanessa shot to her feet, her mouth half open to protest, but the judge didn't even look at her. This hearing, she said, is concluded. The gavel struck once, and just like that, it was over. I walked out of that courtroom and onto the courthouse steps. The sun was sharp and warm against my face. The air smelled like spring. I called Calvin. It's done, I said. You won? Yeah, I said, looking up at the sky. I won. Diane never paid the legal fees. 4 months later, she filed for bankruptcy. Vanessa stopped speaking to her, entirely furious that Diane had admitted the affair in open court. Their friendship imploded under the weight of their own lies. And Jordan, the pharmaceutical guy, vanished too once he realized Diane had no money and a pile of debt she could never climb out of. She ended up renting a small studio on the east side of Memphis, waiting tables at a diner off Union Avenue. I heard it all through Calvin, who heard it from someone else. I didn't look for her, didn't care to. By summer, the third floor of the building was done. I leased one office to a graphic designer, another to a small law firm. Every floor was occupied, every bill paid. $4,700 a month after expenses. Not riches, but real, solid, mine. I hired Lauren from the coffee shop as part-time manager. She kept things running, smooth, organized, kind, dependable. The tenants liked her. Then I bought my second property, a rundown duplex 2 streets over. I fixed it up with my own hands and rented both units within a month. By year's end, I owned 3 properties. People started calling me a fair landlord, the guy who actually fixed things when they broke. I wasn't rich, but I was steady. I was building something. I moved out of the motel that August and into a 1-bedroom apartment above a bakery. It was small, but the windows were wide, the floors creaked like they'd seen stories, and every morning the air smelled like fresh bread. I bought a used truck, a coffee maker, a chair that didn't wobble. I stopped thinking about Diane, stopped replaying the nights I begged her to stay, stopped counting what I'd lost. Instead, I started noticing what I'd built. Some days, the memories still came, the fear, the humiliation, the exhaustion of watching someone I loved walk away when I had nothing left to give. But most days, I felt something better. I felt free. No more debts owed to love. No more pieces taken from me. Just quiet mornings, sunlight on clean windows, and a life that finally belonged to me. Rock bottom, I learned, isn't the end. It's the foundation